It is overtime here again at Old Favorite Friday, discussing incredible classic beers. And I came across a treasure trove of older beers that I do not believe are really distributed here in South Florida anymore. And if they are, they're distributed in very small amounts. I was able to pick up 3 different beers, one of which is the Third Coast Old Ale by Bell's. Now, if you watch this on a regular basis, you'll know that Bell's is one of my favorite breweries. I'm from Michigan originally, and this is the 10th beer that I have talked about from Bell's on Old Favorite Friday. It goes to show you how much I love their beers if I want to talk about them that much. Them and Sierra Nevada, the only breweries right now that I've done 10 beers of, and there's still some other ones out there. Some of the beers that might be retired, some of the beers that just might not be accessible to me, but I definitely want to get my hands on more. But I was so happy to see this Third Coast Old Ale. This is one of the first American barley wines I was exposed to, for the lack of a better term. There's several of them around that time that I tried for the first time. And this was a time when I was really, really in love with those hop profiles that were super bitter. And this was so interesting because it married the English barley wine, the sweeter, sticky, malty, caramel, toffee flavors with the American hop profile that we saw so much in like West Coast IPAs, giving it a little more structure and bitterness on the back end with some earthy, herby kind of hops. And honestly, it's not always done really well. Sometimes the bitterness just completely overwhelms the malt flavor and you just have a bitter bomb. This beer is not that. It's done with great amounts of subtlety and complexity. This is a beer that, if you go on their website, I love this. It says the ageability of this beer. It says unlimited. Unlimited. I love that. But the fact that maybe it might not be technically true. I think if you had a 50-year-old bottle of this, you might not want to drink it. But it goes to show you that because of the maltiness of this beer at 10.2%, the alcohol in the beer, and also because the bitterness, the backbone, that bitterness will actually fade over time and kind of reveal more of these layers of toffee and fig and raisin and the nuttiness that comes into this beer. That will kind of change over time. And when I picked this up, because I was like, oh, how do you have this bottle? Turns out this is from way back in 2021. So this beer was actually bottled on September 23rd, so not too far away from the date that I'm recording this, and in 2021. So it's a 4-year-old beer, and it is still, for the lack of a better term, on fire. It still has all that great bitterness in the background. It's got all the like I talked about, the toffee and the raisin, the caramel is in there, but it hasn't really died down that much. So it still has that really, really nice balance. When you start tipping into 6, 7, 8 years, I would imagine you'll have a little more of the fade of the bitterness. But right now, the balance is just lovely. It's a medium to full body beer. It's a great beer to pair with many, many different foods. I'll talk about that in a few minutes here. But this beer first came out in 1988. Bell's is a legacy brewery in the United States. I love them. I'm biased because I'm a Michigander, but I don't think you can be a real beer aficionado or a lover of beer in the United States and not have some soft spot for Bell's, whether it's Expedition Stout or Oberon or Two Hearted. There's just such a litany of beers, Best Brown, that just when they do it so well. And that's just something that I have this deep respect for. After all these years, still kicking out beers like this, still full flavored ales, not really skimping, it seems like. This particularly, I know this beer is 4 years old, but I believe this beer is still in production, still available on the website. I would guess if this was bottled in September of 2021, the beer's probably coming out around this time, if it's available around you. But they're not dumbing the beer down to appeal to a less sophisticated beer drinker. They are producing this beer for people who know beers like this and really, really respect these old school styles. It would be really easy to abandon a beer like this in your beer lineup. And I'm not saying they're not going to do that at some point, because we've seen it with Sierra Nevada and Bell's and all these other great breweries where they kind of discontinue something for a while and then they're able to bring it back when they have kind of the nostalgia for it. But the fact you're still able to produce something like this that is, for the lack of a better term, a niche beer for an audience and do it so well and not take any shortcuts, it fills my heart with joy that Bell's is still doing this and still doing this beer. I wish that I would have been able to get 2 or 3 more bottles of this. Was the last bottle that they had. And I definitely put it down for 2-3 more years. I think it would just be spectacular to try those beers. I've had some aged version of Third Coast Old Ale in the past, but it's been so long, it's kind of hard to jog my memory about that, so I'm not going to speak out of turn about it. But Bell's is fantastic, and as it comes with some of these beers that are either seasonal or highly limited in their availability. If you are watching this video and you just really want to get your hands on it and you can't, just have anything from Bell's. You're not going to go wrong. Once again, Expedition Stout is a beer that, in my opinion, still one of the greatest imperial stouts ever made. I'll put it up against anything with cocoa nibs and vanilla beans and coconut all day of the week. It's just an incredible beer. Third Coast, these big, bold beers, but this Two-Hearted IPA is fantastic. So I mentioned about the food pairings before. I just had a lamb tagine last night. We made it home, and I just think it would have gone so well together because you have all these great spices in there, and the rich, savory nature of that would go with the caramel malts and things of that nature, and the bitterness would hold up to some of the spice that was in there as well. And the body-wise, it would work really, really, really incredibly. This is a nice pairing. I think it would have gone really well. Once again, if I had more than one bottle, I would be able to try this out with some leftovers tonight, but no dice on that one. The other thing, if you're don't have access to that, or you're not a fan of like Moroccan food, something like a pork tenderloin with like an apple chutney. Those apple flavors would go so well with the toffee and the caramel and the richness, the brown malt aspects of this beer. And I just think it would be dynamite as well. So 2 things that you could take and try if you are lucky enough to either have these beers from the past and you're cellaring them, or they're still available near you. Thanks again for Bell's for putting these beers out. 10 beers for Old Favorite Friday. If I had access to every single beer in their portfolio over the last 15, 20 years, it would have been 25 by now, just because I'm the biggest fanboy, but I think they deserve it. It's not just a hometown bias. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Please poke around the channel, see other videos just like this, talking about incredible classic beers, the things that got us all into loving craft beer. And also go over to our Instagram, follow us there. You'll see a shorter video of this posted every single Friday, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.